Good evening. My name is Alan Holly, and I am chairman of the Townsend Planning Commission. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the second Thursday of the month Planning Commission meeting. I do realize most of us are here for the community land use transportation plan, and the way it's going to occur is we're going to have a regular meeting. I'm going to call a special meeting, and then we will go back to the Planning Commission meeting, the way that we're going to do it. As tradition with the Townsend Planning Commission, we're going to say a pledge of allegiance followed by a moment of silence. The last few weeks we have preached on our local heroes that mean so much to us, our troops representing our country, and maybe some of those in our community not quite as fortunate. Tonight, in a moment of silence, I wish you would please concentrate on unity. Everybody in this room is here for one reason. It has one common goal. Everybody in this room is because they love the city of Townsend. And if you please concentrate on that for a moment of silence, I would appreciate it. If you would please rise and face the flag and pledge allegiance followed by a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead, if no one minds, and do this again, if you do not mind. It is Thursday, July 11th, 2026, at approximately 6:04 in the evening, and this is going to be a public forum or meeting.
Chairman, let me, on the agenda, let's do the presentation first, and then you can open the public hearing.
It was listed that way. I thought it was incorrect. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Don. Yes, please.
So y'all have requested that we do a type of presentation, and I do want to say, I've read the plan several times. I was not involved with the initial, I wasn't on CPAC, so I don't want to stand here and represent myself as an expert on the plan. Pretty much what I have done is gone through and just pulled out what the recommendations / strategies that are in the plan. So it's an 80+ page document. PowerPoint is 40-something pages, so I will try not to tell you all the PowerPoint, but I do want to go through these recommendations, and what you will see, the first 2 slides are mine. After that was copy and paste straight out of the plan that was posted online and what was in the CPAC and the committee. So I do want to make a point. There's been a lot of questions. This is a non-binding plan. It was developed by planning professionals. It includes recommendations, strategies, considerations by the Planning Commission. It won't change anything. If this is passed tonight, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't have any authority. It doesn't set anything into place. It does not say if the Planning Commission passes this, it does not mean they agree 100% with what's in the plan. The purpose of the plan is, and they do adopt it tonight, they are simply saying that this is a document that was produced for them and that they will use and go to, refer to as they are making decisions as far as zoning ordinance and those sorts of things that the Planning Commission does. We said a couple of times, if you have any input, if you want to send it to me, I'll include it in this presentation. Really only got it from 3 individuals. I've mixed these up, so it's not like one from any individual. You all can see there, we had some people that thought that it was a little bit too much on a development side, and some that thought it wasn't enough as far as tourism goes. Overall, the plan's a good guiding document. These are all pulled, if it's in quotations, that's pulled straight from it. If not, I'm paraphrasing. You can kind of read those for yourself. Would like to see implementation ranking, and let me do say something about that. Like I said before, this is not a binding document. So there's not a, you need to do this by this time, or you need to do this, in this order. You'll see when we get to definitions, there's sort of a ranking there on how to proceed and how to come up with definitions. But that's why you don't see like a timeline in this, because it's not enforceable. So these documents don't have a timeline. Like I said, they're a planning guide. So y'all can read on there. These are the different ones. And again, I don't want to kill y'all with PowerPoint. If I'm not taking questions from the audience. However, if there's a slide and you're in the middle of reading it and you wanted to see something, raise your hand or something. I'll back it up. But again, I got close to 40 slides to get through here. So chapter 1, this is the introduction of the plan. It introduces Townsend identity as the peaceful side of the Smokies, highlights the core challenges it faces, manage growth, balancing tourism economy with residential quality of life. It states its goals is to manage growth, protect natural assets, enhance mobility, and economic resilience. And this is lifted right out of the plan. Chapter 2, natural features. So we get into the environmental factors that shape Townsend and the development of Townsend. It adds to what was in the previous plan as far as the average precipitation has picked up. For me as fire chief, that's good. That helps us with wildland fires, but I'm not really seen that in practice. But longer growing season and goes into the soil classifications, and that we do have some areas that are not suitable for septic. And I'm not taking questions.
No, just previous slide.
You want to see? So, recommendation is use land planning to address evolving climate changes, strategy, restrict flood zone prone areas, prioritize smart growth through compact mixed-use development, and the revitalization of underutilized urban areas. So let me say this. As I go through this plan, as a citizen of Townsend, I definitely have my opinions. As a city manager, I have my opinions. I'm going to do my best to be neutral and not say, I really like this or really don't like this. So I'm trying to give you all just a cut and dry facts only here. Also wants to update our infrastructure to support climate resiliency, green buffers, upgrade infrastructure, retrofitting stormwater systems, roads and floodplain areas that recommend could be elevated, reinforced, utility systems protected from heat stress and flood damage. Emergency preparedness should be strengthened through redundant systems and infrastructure. The next recommendation is reduce the frequency of short vehicle trips, especially those under 1 mile. Invest in well-designed pedestrian cycling paths between destinations. Consider transit or centralized parking facility on either or both ends of town. And include this recommendation strategies in the future land use and transportation planning decisions. Reduce risk of erosion, stormwater runoff, and mudslides through development regulations. Strengthen slope developments, require erosion control measures, stormwater measure systems, and geotechnical assessments for construction on steep terrain. I do want to make the point that this is a municipal planning commission, not a regional planning commission. Regional planning commission has the authority to make zoning regulations outside of the city limits in the urban growth boundaries. This body does not have that authority. However, it is noted in the plan, and it's been noted several times to several different people. What happens in our very small city has an impact on the code and what's outside the code. So you will see some stuff in here that just like some talking about some steep slopes that we may not necessarily have in town, but it appears that they were asked to take the whole code in consideration on some of these things. So you will see some things in here and think that's not in our town. It's not, and we don't have the authority to really do anything about it. We don't, but they still put a recommendation in here for consideration. The view sheds that define Townsend, the view from 321 is the most critical. View shed is what they're calling it. Maintaining the green wall, the surrounding ridges. The view from the Little River to the Greenway must be protected from intrusive structures, excessive clear cutting. Develop policies strictly to limit height and line of structures built on high ridges to prevent skylining, ensuring silhouettes of the mountain remain dominant visual feature of the horizon. Protect the Little River floodplain, minimize flood risks, and maintain ecological balance. That's create more strict zoning and building codes in floodplain, promote low impact development techniques. Protect and preserve the Little River as a critical natural asset, implement stricter development controls, and then require regular septic system inspections to ensure proper function and oversight. Improve Townsend's flood mitigation and management strategies, update the hazard management and predictive tools, support the development of a regional stormwater detention pond to further mitigate flood impacts, renew and enhance regional coordination, playing an active role in shaping regional flood strategies, improve emergency access and resilience by identifying and reinforcing vulnerable utility corridors and transportation routes. Plan for sustainable water infrastructure to support future growth. Strategically plan for expansion of the municipal water system to maintain continued services and protect water quality as the community grows. Strengthen water quality monitoring and regional partnerships. Coordinate with TDEC, Little River Watershed, continue ongoing monitoring of the Little River to inform policy decisions. Ensure development aligns with soil suitability to protect public health and environmental quality. Requires site-specific soil evaluations and percolation testing, particularly near the Little River floodplain. Enforce engineered septic system standards in areas with marginal or variable soils. Integrate NCRS web soil survey data and Blount County GIS information into development review procedures. Protect archaeologically sensitive areas during development. Require compliance with Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. Approach development areas such as Tuckaleechee Cove and the Little River floodplain with heightened review and formal archaeological evaluations where required. Strengthen wildfire preparedness and risk mitigation efforts to protect Townsend from increasing regional wildfire threats. Incorporate wildfire risk assessment and mitigation planning into local emergency management and land use planning efforts. Coordinate with regional, state, and federal partners to monitor wildfire activity, enhance community awareness, preparedness, and response policy based on lessons learned from recent regional fires. This is chapter 3, outlines previous preservation efforts, explores Townsend's multi-layered history, transitioning from pre-contact Native American Cherokee to late 19th century. So one of the things in going through this, I'm of the age where if somebody says 20 years ago, I think 1970. And it's not. And so, they look at anything 50 years back, and we're coming up in the stuff in the 80s that are 50 years back. So it's not quite there, but so the things, the buildings I'm used to that I think those aren't old buildings, and kind of like the songs I used to listen to, they're now classic songs. So. This is defined Townsend's aesthetic. I'm not going to read that whole thing, but what I do, The strategy established a design review board by local ordinance, and it gives the legal basis there. Identify the target zone for design review, draft and adopt design guidelines, involve current property owners, and make a plan to inform future property owners. Incentivize preservation and adaptive reuse of the existing built environment over new construction. Incentivize maintaining agricultural parcels, and it goes through some of the farms that we have, and consider adopting easements and/or deed restrictions to maintain agricultural parcels. Generate a historic preservation plan to create an agenda for future preservation activities and establish goals. Strategy to establish a focus area for future historical zoning overlay, and it gives a legal basis there. Hire a consulting firm to generate a historic preservation plan, address the plan for historic preservation goals. Strategies identify historic preservation goals in geographical focus area. Apply for the fund matching grant program through the Tennessee Historical Commission and National Park Service to fund the HPP. Pursue natural heritage area status in collaboration with Blount County and the Great Smoky Mountain and the National Park Service and potentially other stakeholders as the Great Smoky Mountains Convention and Visitors Bureau, Blount County Chamber of Commerce, Keep Blount Beautiful, Foothills Land Conservatory, Little River Watershed Association, Blount County Historical Society, Sam Houston Schoolhouse Museum, City of Maryville, City of Alcoa, City of Friendsville, Blount County Government, among others. Strategy to review and comment upon recommendations made in Tennessee Civil War National Heritage areas. There's a whole list of areas there. Recommend and/or pursue additional listings for resources located in the corporate limits. There is kind of a breakdown of the type of architecture that they look at, 1 through 5. In addition to the above list, the Department of Agriculture 1975 to 1976 Century Farms Program is also supported. Educate property owners, encourage property owners to secure a determination of eligibility in the Historic Preservation Fund and matching grant program. Chapter 4 is social economic trends. It's data-driven planning. This chapter analyzes the local demographic, housing variabilities, and labor markets. It highlights an aging population period that outpaces prime work age demographics and discusses rising home prices that limit affordable rental inventory for local hospitality workforce. Key recommendations center on introducing alternative middle housing options like ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and cottage courts, and establishing stricter enforcement mechanisms to regulate and capture tax revenue from short-term rental platforms like Airbnb and VRBO. So since Townsend has a significant portion of its population made up of mature age individuals, resulting in a lower proportion of people of prime working age, this demographic trend can influence the legal workforce and economic productivity. Organic growth in Townsend will be stagnant, if not decline. Population growth will therefore be dependent on immigration. People will have to choose to reside in Townsend for population growth to expand, or demographic stability will be fluid and vibrant. Strategy, the demographic shift resulting from this migration represents a social-economic dynamic that Townsend should either proactively guide or be prepared to effectively manage. Parks and recreation, the aging population may shift Townsend's facilities towards activities suited for older adults, such as walking trails and community gardens. There may be a need to invest in accessible facilities and for programs that cater to interests and physical capabilities of elderly residents. For instance, strategy, People's Park, a prime example of what should remain a priority for civic bodies and residents. And the recommendation, a plan plus the procurement of grant philanthropic funds shall be sought for its design, financing, and construction. Combining the current enrollment status and the future occupancy integrity of the elementary school with the adjacent Gene Mosley Memorial Park, a recreation civic activity center could be explored with this catering to residents, more than tourists, and local business patrons, especially if the school facility remains as an educational institution. Recommendation. Workforce housing is simultaneously a popular population, social, and economical issue, ensuring the existence, recruitment, and retention of a workforce. Of a workforce in Townsend, social and economical requires foresight, potentially through the following strategies and considerations. Allowing on-site employee housing could be an optimal solution for addressing workforce housing in Townsend. This type of housing, private property placed and managed as well as self-contained, would not require public expenditure for construction and maintenance, though it would need public land use permitting and building inspection oversight. Cottage courts are a middle housing option, not just for workforce housing, but for aspiring homeowners and or property owners who want to pursue this housing option. Middle-income occupants of cottage court housing may span the spectrum from retirees to starter home heads of household. Strategy: allowance of accessory dwelling units, ADUs, are defined by the American Planning Association as an accessory dwelling unit, smaller independent residential dwelling unit located on the same lot as a standalone detached single-family home. And there's a good one that. Broadening housing choices is essential to accommodate workforce retention needs to attract migration, which will help Townsend repopulate with demographics and prevent it from becoming a community of seasonally vacant homes, which upon turnover of ownership could lay Townsend's housing stock victim to probate courts, speculating investors, and empty homes instead of the vibrancy of in-place residents and their accompanying neighborhood. Accessory, it goes back into ADUs, cottage courts, and good work buildings. And it says ultimately Townsend housing options should be thoughtfully based on current and future social economic dynamics that promotes residential vibrancy, whilst also facilitating revenue capture, which shores up Townsend's purse strings. Housing options should be prioritized in the following order: ADUs, cottage courts, on-site workforce housing. This hierarchy should guide the development review process and be aligned with updated land use regulations to ensure the consistency and strategic implementation. Workforce housing may be allowed as a special exception as use on review procedurally. Deliberations about supply and character of residential housing, short-term accommodation, the community's decision thereof may consider the following strategies towards optimal social economic ends. Limited renter options, high housing prices, occupancies in vacant residence, and diversification of housing options. These factors are crucial for making informed decisions that promote a balanced and vibrant community in Townsend with the following as problem-solving strategies and/or solutions. ADUs can be developed within the structure of single-family residence or a separate outbuilding subject to local zoning regulations. Cottage courts required to be submitted under planned unit development regulations could be incorporated into land development regulations. Townsend can capture revenue from accommodations and tourism services, including platforms like Airbnb and VRBO, although implementing a license system for short-term rentals which ensures that all properties are registered and compliant with local regulations. So we have already put a lot of this into place, but I'll go through, you can see the strategies there: permitting, former primary residence, or having a local host agent, auditing and inspection, square footage size, and establishing online portal for short-term rental registration. So we do say what it can be two beds per bedroom with a bunk bed counting as one bed, and for D there and E we are in the process of working on that. Establish a local tourism development authority to manage and promote appropriate scale tourism activities which strive to ensure sustainable development and revenue generation by engaging residents, businesses, and other stakeholders and ensuring that development benefits the entire community. Maintain mutually satisfying coordination of events and festivals with stakeholders and partners to increase spending in the local economy as well as manage optimal levels of tourism activity which do not compromise the peaceful side of the Smoky City coast. Conduct a community-wide housing stock survey to determine all occupancy use types and intensities present and potential. Chapter 5, the recommendation in this section acts as an analytical baseline, tracking shifts since preceding 2009. Notes that the development has remained largely stable, with single-family homes remaining the dominant land use category due to widespread reliance on subsurface sewage disposal. While a full transportation update is paused pending a state-level TDOT study, the text reviews persistent congestion, pain points, particularly during peak season tourism events at the 321 Warriors Valley intersection. Chapter 6, this chapter details targeted recommendations to update and modernize the structure of terminology enforcement bounds of the city's zoning ordinance. It advocates for dynamic, tiered lodging definitions to navigate shifting consumer platforms, explores the regulatory constraints of the Tennessee's Short-Term Rental Act, and maps out strategies to streamline high-density mental housing permissions. It also includes operational impact criteria to regulate business externalities such as alcohol manufacturing, volume limits, and amusement venue restrictions. So this is a recommendation on how to go through and look at definitions in our zoning regulations. As y'all go through those, it's pretty straightforward. Rather than rely on static terms, we recommend a tiered classification system for short-term accommodations with flexibility built in for future evolution. Categories might include the following. And so here's some recommendations on lodging: traditional lodging, residential-based lodging, recreational lodging, mobile lodging, emerging, or hybrid models. And some examples of those. Each category can be defined with reference to use and occupancy, duration, ownership and management structure, physical characteristics, platform method of rental if relevant. Now, Townsend legal counsel should be consulted to clarify the following: the extent to which these properties may be regulated, whether their continued use qualifies for commercial tax treatment, and the city's authority consists of collect taxes on revenue generated. Ultimately, the goal is to ensure that such uses, development, proposals, etc., do not disrupt the desired character of the community, are subject to fair and enforceable standards, and contribute equitably to the local economy. Caution: definitions then should serve as tools for clarity, not constraints on thoughtful, adaptive government in its decision making. An interesting, sorry, I'm adding my opinion there, but cap on short-term rentals. Consider CAP a permanent system modeled after New York City's tax medallion system to preserve residential character and prevent investor-driven housing shortages. Recommendation: primary resident requirement, proof of primary resident. For example, homeowner turnover, Townsend housing stock should not become victim to the vagaries of the marketplace. Appeals and interpretation include a provision allowing the Board of Zoning Appeals to interpret definitions and resolve disputes, ensuring flexibility and fairness. Reference tools and measurement instruments, adopt resources like the APA's, a planner's dictionary, and consult structured public polling results to support consistent, informed, legitimate, and supportable interpretations. ADUs strongly supported by the Tennessee Realtors. They can increase housing supply without altering the neighborhood character, and consider allowing the R1 and R1E. Recommendation: Townsend should enact an amendment allowing ADUs in its zoning ordinance. Cottage courts, small-scale cluster housing developments strategy to expand stock while promoting affordability. Recommended in R2s, B1 and B2, and constituted a design review commission and devise design and aesthetic standards to conduct oversight, perform advisory functions, and effectuate standards for college courts and other high density and historic structures. Townsend should initially only allow ADUs in pre-existing structures. ADUs could address short-term residential affordability and availability, while college courts could cater to medium-term housing supply and long-term growth. Residential commercial adoption and adaptation may be a prudent strategy for Townsend housing, demographic, economic, and finance matters arising. Preserve Townsend's small town character, mitigate potential land use conflicts. Facilities shall be limited to non-industrial scale operations defined in part by their production volume. And this is relating to alcohol manufacturing facilities. Physical footprint on-site activities is to be determined by the Planning Commission and City Commission in due course. With specific structure, its particular or peculiar use, that is, proposed to the city, within be suitably placed under the purview of the building inspector. Amusement entertaining, the potential accumulated presence of amusement parks may conflict with Townsend's land use vision, particularly its emphasis on low impact development and its preservation of its natural and scenic character. They should be stricken out of the zoning ordinance. In Chapter 7, the final chapter, no recommendations, but it chapter reviews the procedural toolbox available to local administrative bodies to put the plans policy into action, details how the mechanisms such as local zoning code updates, strict subdivision site reviews, active building inspections, the execution of a capital improvement plan, and regional coordination for urban growth boundaries can work in unison with civilian committees and local leadership to guide Townsend's long-term sustainable growth. Mr. Chairman, that is the recommendations. Again, what I read on recommendations was lifted right out of the document, the overview of the chapter. That was mine, the overview. And I'll be honest, I did some AI to help me in the overview because I felt it was fairly unbiased. So, that ends my presentation.
Mr. City Manager, thank you for the presentation. Thank you very much. At this point in time, on June 11, 2026, at 6:34 in the afternoon, I would like to call to order a public hearing and a public meeting regarding the Townsend Community Land Use and Transportation Plan. Mr. City Manager, do you have the list? I thought we would have more comments.
There's an issue.
Still wish I thought we'd have more comments. As I go down the list, somebody has asked to speak last, and I respect them, I respect their opinion, so I am going to do that. Edward and Stacy Joyce, you have a maybe on here. Would you, it says maybe, would you like to speak?
Yes, please.
Would you please walk up front and please speak in the microphone? It's recorded and we'd like to see you, and that way we can hear you whenever you're recorded. Thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking.
Edward Joyce and Stacy Joyce. We are the current owners of the Shea House. We saw that was one of the comments that was at the very end of it. We were just curious on
What is the discussion on
what
the
is the
Shea House?
discussion on the Shea House?
I'm not being disrespectful. I really appreciate you coming. I'll be happy to listen 2 or 3 minutes to anything that you want to talk about. But this is not really a question and answer session. I mean, Mr. Don, is that?
Well, it's our house, so mention in one of those comments, so.
And usually in a hearing, it's for you to voice your opinion, not to engage with the panel for several reasons. I'm the city manager. I'll meet you afterwards, or if you would like to come by one day during the week, I'll be out next week, but the door's always open and we can sit down and discuss.
We shall do that then.
Okay.
I'd also be more than happy to talk to you at any point in time. Thank you for asking me. Thank you, and I apologize again. We have a second maybe. I didn't know maybe it was an option. Mr. Joel Stout, are you in the room, please? Would you like to speak? How are you, sir? Would you please walk up to the microphone? Thank you.
Again, my name is Joel Stout. I'm not a resident of Townsend, but I am a resident of Blount County. I do have some friends that live in Townsend, and my biggest concern, I think part of it has been answered by what you've been over earlier, but my biggest concern was whether or not Townsend was going to remain the peaceful side of the Smokies. We do not, I'm speaking for myself, I'm speaking for native people of Townsend. I wish they could have been here, but a lot of them are older and just don't get out much. But a lot of the native people of Townsend do not want to see Townsend to become another Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, so to speak. I'm sure that there is some progress that they would like to see, but as far as being another Pigeon Forge or another Gatlinburg, no, let's keep it the peaceful side.
Good.
As the war engine rides by.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Stout. Thank you for your comments. We have an actual yes, not a maybe, a yes. Kay Pruitt.
No, it was a, no. I'm sorry. That was an error.
That was an error.
Yes.
So the only actual yes we have is an error.
Well, actually, I put an arrow down to joy peace, and I will speak.
Regardless, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
But I do ditto what this gentleman said.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
On the last page, joy peace is listed under Kay Pruitt.
Miss Joanne, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are
You actually circled the yes. Come on, come up, and I'll give you a few minutes to speak.
I am Joanne Funk. I don't live in the city of Townsend, but I live in Townsend. Just as a quick overlook, this is our current land use and transportation. It lists everyone who is involved in the production of this. It also, the table of contents are 3 pages long with the titles and subtitles. It has fold out color maps. So what I understand is this is replacing this. I thought in the beginning this was supposed to be integrated with this. So I'm confused about that. Fast forward, let's see, this new document that the city of Townsend paid $100,000 for pales in comparison to what we already have. I hear people say this is just a guide that sits on a shelf, there's no rules here, and tonight you're saying that this is not a binding contract, so then why are we here? What you're saying is you don't have to do anything in this, but you can't. You didn't finish your sentence. Our current document refers to Townsend as the quiet side of the Smokies. The new document states that Townsend faces a unique challenge balancing its identity as a premier gateway destination. That's why I asked you to go back to the first slide, because you did not have premier gateway destination as Townsend is referred to in this new document. For planning goals, there's only 4 goals listed for the next 10 years, and one of them is economic resilience. Economic resilience is defined as balancing a thriving tourism industry with housing and service need of year-round workforce. How can only 4 goals, one of them, be important for workforce housing? Speaking of workforce housing, on page 40 in the new document, it is important to acknowledge that on-site, this is a quote, it is important to acknowledge that on-site workforce housing has already been considered and approved by the City of Townsend in January of 2024, following a petition submitted by Yonder. Although the decision was contentious, hinging on the interpretation of what constitutes a hotel, it was ultimately approved along with the site plan that explicitly included on-site workforce housing. This action established a precedent for permitting such housing within the city. If memory serves me correctly, that was a very contentious time. So Yonder came in asking for a campground. It was denied because it was not zoned for a campground. They came back asking for a zoning change. It was denied. Then magically, a campground became a hotel, and it was approved. And yes, those plans did have employee housing on them. However, in order to build that housing, they needed a zoning change to high density, and that was not approved. So for you to reflect in this that housing has adopted is wrong. So I asked myself, why is employee housing so important to the city of Townsend? A toothpick of a town. Why does it have to be in the city? We have other property in the 37882 zip code, not to mention Lawyers Valley and Walland. Why does it have to be in the city? I kept asking myself that. Well, you on one of your slides listed this, and if you to understand this, you have to read through it, comb through it, put the puzzle pieces together. One of your slides, you mentioned, okay, this is a quote, this type of housing, private property placed in management as well as self-contained would not require public expenditure of construction and maintenance, though it would need public land use permitting. I was not familiar with that term. I looked it up. Public land use permitting is the process of acquiring formal government-issued authorization to use, occupy, or develop publicly owned land. Okay, you're gonna come back and say, well, we don't have to do that. No, you don't. But once this passes, you have the ability to do that. Look at page 8. This is our vision. There are 8 values listed that reflects the wants and wishes of the residences in the 37882 zip code that participated in the survey held at the Heritage Center. Every decision made for this city should run through these 8 values. Where on those 8 values does it mention employee housing? Under page 14, the city has expressed growing interest in protecting, hold on.
Ms. Joanne?
Yes.
We're approaching 5 minutes.
I know that you have very few, so anyway, I thought that this was gonna happen. So I do have 4 extra copies. If anyone would like to look at them, take copies of them. I do reference the books. So, let me just close. There's a lot more I wanted to say, but I will close.
Thank you.
Anyway, all of this, I only reviewed 29 pages of the 8, and I found so many things. There is no urgency to pass this document tonight. The information in this document needs to be incorporated into what we already have. What we already have is so much better than what you're voting on. And it will be interesting to see who votes for this to pass. In my opinion, it will represent which side of the fence you stand on, and it will be good information to use for the upcoming election. And we should take them on it.
Thank you. Requested to go last. Give me 1 second if you don't mind. I went through this real quick. Did I miss anybody? Everybody, I've got no's on here. Did I miss anybody? Because after Mr. Jeff goes, it's going to come to the commission. Apparently, I did not miss anybody. Mr. Jeff, you would please wrap it up. public forum, and it's going to go to the commission. Thank you.
I'm Jeff Riddle, I live at 134 Myers Road, and not repeating what I've already commented. Second.
Okay. Get a little bit closer, Mr. Jeff.
All right.
Please.
Jeff Riddle, 134 Myers Road. I won't go over the same comments I already gave you all a month or so ago. But these are just my comments, not even my wife's. So we are part of many Townsend residents who vacation here for many, many years. In fact, we did our honeymoon here in 1981, and we dated here in 1980. So Townsend we love Townsend. Now we live here as full-time residents since 2021, coming on 5 years. We're here because Townsend, for us, was a recreation heaven. It was quiet, peaceful, with mountain views and hundreds of miles of trails, wildlife, and waterways. I acknowledge that quiet and peaceful for local people that have lived here for many, many more years than we have, that it has, I'm sure, gotten not as peaceful as it was like 50 years ago, as Don was talking about. But overall, I think I've read through the plan, skimmed through it, made my comments before, suggested the priorities, priority list. You could actually do that based on every one of your slides. Just go, be a quick little exercise. But anyway, I think overall it's a good plan. The more I go through it, but it is a guiding document. And I have a question at the end, and I'll go real quick. The natural environment, the natural resources list is a lot of good information. That's stuff that all the government agencies have to cooperate to do. Transportation, vehicles, bikes, by foot. I'm one for, there's good parking at the ends of the bike path. That's where people park people that don't live here, that don't come from their houses, they park in those parking lots. Could there be something in the middle? Yeah, maybe. But as the mayor knows, I'm against parking garages. Utility infrastructure, not much is mentioned in the plan. I know I'm not asking to change the plan, but you could do an amendment to just, as a matter of record, to say that the water, you've got a new water line that's real recent. You got new power poles all up and down. That's an infrastructure improvement. Wastewater, there's not much mention of that because the likelihood of the sanitary sewer system seems pretty low unless pushed by government or mandated by environmental reasons from the EPA. Housing stock, I know there's a lot of information, surveys being done on trying to figure out how many full-time residents there are in Townsend, how many Airbnbs. That's all great information. I've helped out with identifying how many houses are in the B1 zoning. So that's good. And you're already working on short-term rentals, which is in the list. So that's good. That's a priority stuff to me. The local heritage and culture, I think that's a great section. I don't have the knowledge to know if it's 100% correct, but it would be great I love history, to be riding around town and come up upon like the benches that you have, to have a board or information plaque that has some history while you're sitting there. That would be great. That would be great. I agree that the plan that it calls for discussion and updating of the zoning ordinances. Y'all talk a bunch about that. It'd be nice to sort of zero in on some of that.
Mr. Jeff, I kind of warned Miss Joanna 5 minutes, and you kind of helped me
Okay,
out.
I'm
Fair,
good.
please. Sorry.
Three things. One of the most important statements is the plan that I see is, and it said to manage, that would impact Townsend, is to manage the size and the type of festivals, to keep Townsend a peaceful site. We live right by the festivals, and that's important to us. The only statement I would love for y'all to correct was on the amusement parks. Because they say that they should be stricken, you corrected me that they're not even in the ordinance. You can't have an amusement park now in town.
Page 86.
So it says the plan is the last thing.
Okay, we're good.
The plan says it's a living document to be used daily. I understand that's not a literal meaning, but, and this is a question that I'm not expecting an answer right now. But what process will you all create that you'll be able to actually use the plan as a guide? Is that something to maybe yearly, monthly? So in other words, it's $100,000. We can disagree or agree with stuff in the plan, but I sure hope we use it and refer to it often as we go forward.
Again, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I would like to thank y'all for all the public comments. I am going to go ahead and close the Townsend Community Land Use Transportation Public Forum. That is now closed. If you picked an agenda up that was laid on the back table, I am going to return to the regular June meeting. And if you go down the agenda, D is under unfinished business. Number 1 is the commission discussing the land use plan. All right. If y'all will look at number A, adoption of agenda. If somebody would review the adoption of agenda, and at any point in time, if anybody's comfortable enough to make a motion, I'll accept it.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Well, there, Mr. Bruce. Thank you.
Second.
I got a second. All those in favor of adoption agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by like sign.
Opposed.
You're going to oppose
Yep.
the agenda.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Commissioner Pat, who has the right, is going to oppose the agenda. But the motion did pass, so we are going to continue with the agenda. All right, B, public input for items on the agenda. Mr. Jeff, you want to go last again on this one, or
Oh,
you want to go?
no,
You said maybe,
I wasn't sure what all that was, so I'm done.
so you're done. Fair enough. I've got a no, I got a no, I got a no.
No.
So you're going to, you put a maybe, but you are going to decline. Thank you, sir. Ms. Pruitt, you have a maybe on here, sir. I have to address you.
That was we were signed in together, and the maybe was for her. For me, Joy Peace.
Okay.
My name is right under K.
It is.
Pruitt's name.
Yes, ma'am. But, agenda, are you good? I mean, I'd be happy to give you 2 or 3 minutes if you'd like to discuss something.
In regard to,
In regard to items on tonight's agenda.
oh, I'm good.
You're good? Fair enough. Ms. Joanne, you circled yes again.
I said my piece.
You said your piece.
Well, I didn't get to say it all, but.
I think you did a good job. Is that good enough? I have now taken care of B on the agenda. C is going to be the mayor's report, where I turn it over to Mr. Don and kind of sit back in my chair and listen and let him take over. Mr. Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. City Council had their last meeting on May the 19th, and items of interest for the Planning Commission. Let's see. We did pass our budget, so we debated that quite a bit and passed that on the second reading. We also passed an ordinance defining tourist residences as short-term rentals and providing regulatory framework for a permitting process regarding the operation of short-term rentals. So we passed that on the second reading. And then we also passed another ordinance, I think it was not allowed in the R1E zoning district, and they are allowed short-term rental units in the B1. So that was sort of implicit before, but now it's explicit, and that ordinance also passed on second reading. And then city manager was asked to discuss the portion of his report, primarily about what we're doing tonight and what would the process be on taking a look at the community plan. So we had something about bingo, but I don't think that's of interest to the planning commission, but it might be a general interest, things like that. And city manager told us that he took note that the swinging bridge, there has been an RFP issued and awarded, so the work will be starting this year to make the repairs on the swinging bridge. That's something that's very important to our community, so we're looking forward to getting that underway. And then we also discussed about bear proof techniques. So that's a readout from our last city commission.
Fantastic.
Any questions?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're now at D, which is unfinished business. At this point in time, the commission will discuss a resolution to adopt the Townsend Community Land Use Plan, Land Use and Transportation Plan as a non-binding policy guide for the City of Townsend Municipal Planning Commission from 2026 to 2036. Discussion and possible action regarding the City of Townsend Community Land Use and Transportation Plan. Would any commissioner like to go first?
I will.
Ms. Pat, how are you? Why don't you go?
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
I'm sorry.
I think just in terms of procedure, usually the way we operate this in the city councils, we'll ask for a first and a second on the resolution, then we'll get it up for discussion, have the discussion, and then we'll have to call for the vote. So, okay, I think the first item you might be to ask if the commissioner would like to make a motion to adopt that resolution.
I jumped ahead. I apologize. Thank you. I appreciate your help. Would a commissioner like to make a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make a motion, but you're not gonna like it. I want to make a motion to table approval of the community plan until a full review and editing, page by page, is completed by the Townsend Planning Commission.
Do I have a second to Mr. Pat's motion?
I'll second that.
I have a second. So we're going to vote.
Discuss.
Okay.
After discussion, and then you take a vote on the.
Mr. Pat, will you go ahead real quick, and I apologize, will you reread your motion,
Sure.
please? Sir?
I want to make a motion to table approval of the community plan until a full review and editing, page by page, is completed by the Townsend Planning Commission. You want my paper?
I'll take your paper.
Yeah,
Yes,
good.
I will. If not, I'll give it to Mr. McIntosh. He would like to have it. Does anybody want to begin with comments regarding Pat's comment?
I can read you a page of information.
Since you're kind of rolling,
Okay.
why don't you go ahead and go, and then we'll talk about it in a minute.
Okay, I've spent literally days reading the community plan, watching videos of previous meetings. I've worn myself out. But here's my biggest observation. There was a workshop called for in April of 2025. And it basically turned out to be a presentation by ETDD McKean, as we all know him. Attempts to engage discussion by citizens were reflected, and only with about 6 minutes in the end, McKean said that a survey from ETDD would be sent out. I believe that was an empty promise. There was no survey ever materialized in April or May of 2025. The meeting was rushed to a close to make room for a commission meeting, which I understand we had a time frame. Minutes from subsequent CPAC meetings contain statements of dissatisfaction with ETDD. This situation continued until the late fall of 2025. CPAC canceled their scheduled meetings in December, January, and February. In March of this year, ETDD provided a draft copy of the community plan. Keene's unaltered presentation from the previous year is used as a basis for his final draft of the community plan. After receiving that draft, CPAC performed a cursory review of the March 17th meeting and then quickly passed it up the food chain. In my opinion, this is my opinion, I think they were literally exhausted with frustration from dealing with ETPD. Let's see. In the report, SE Group performed a community survey during their open house, as mentioned on page, I forget the page. However, the exact wording of the survey questions or the statistical results of the survey question are not documented in this plan. This is important. This information is used as a basis for a portion of the report. And literally, some of the assumptions they make are based on these survey results, but we don't know what the survey results actually were. Is the vision statement clearly stated anywhere in the report? The report is incomplete. The appendix items used to build the report are completely omitted. Parks and Recreation Master Plan is omitted, and I think that was on purpose. The historical references, the authors of the community plan, should be listed by name, as well as the names and the contact information of the organizations that were paid to work on CPAC, just like Joanne said. The one thing I think I like in the report is the fact that they included an extensive history section, which was missing from our previous one, and I'm happy that was there. But, and there's, I can go to another, just for reference, on page 35, they talk about our population going down. Well, if you look at statistics, in 2020, we were 548 people, according to government statistics. 2026, we're 658. That's a 20% increase. How can we say that our population is going down? I could go on, but I'll stop there once somebody else speaks.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners?
I do want to add, on the page of listing who's on it. So we had discussed adding something on there, but in conversations, people start asking which plan is which and how do we know. I made the decision not to finalize, but to leave alone and not touch what was put out there. I didn't want any change anyway. It's the same electronic file. That way there was no confusion on which one has he touched, which one hasn't touched. But I would assume the final print that I would be instructed to put that cover page on.
So what we're asking to approve isn't the final. That's what I just heard. I really think we're going off half-cocked. That's what I think.
Okay. I appreciate your opinion. You're welcome to think that. Other comments?
I guess I'll disagree with Pat. I think that there's still some things that are just not finished. It's just not actually ready to go. But my comments that I have prepared are not actually regarding what he has. I think I'll read on that too. Yeah, there's mistakes and there's some issues that I think it should be a final plan that we approve. And it should have all pieces to it. And what was the other part we said was missing?
The appendix. There's like 12 things listed, and they're not on the report for you to read.
Didn't you say there's another whole section that of the book should be, well, the Parks and Rec, but it's
Parks
not
and Rec, I
that.
think they intentionally took it out because of some timeline. But it is listed as one of the things in the appendix.
I think it should be
It's not
put
there.
back in.
So, like I said, I think it's an incomplete report, and I absolutely can't vote for an incomplete report, and that's the reason I made the motion that I did.
That you're right. We respect that.
I just don't know. I obviously wasn't involved in the full timeline of this. I mean, it's my understanding it started sometime in 2022, which I assume is COVID related, but we're 6 years late on this community plan, right? Expired 6 years ago. So here we are 6 years later talking about the same thing. But we're not getting it, we're just spinning the wheels. It's also my understanding that there's nothing magical in this plan that's gonna give the commission, the city, powers to do anything that we could not already do, correct? Is there anything that's written in this plan that says, okay, we're talking about, we're talking about accessory dwellings, we're talking about, different types of structures. These are things we can do already, correct?
That's correct. It doesn't give you any more authority to do anything else. So if the plan doesn't pass, if it never passes, anything that's in the plan, we all can say, we want to take this up. So in some ways, the plan is being used also when we're looking at short-term rental units. So it's already out there.
And if I'm not mistaken, the absence of this plan affects our ability to, one, be legally compliant with the state, two, to have access to grants and funds used in other ways, correct?
So we are, the state law that we're operating under, you have a plan. We already have a plan. So we're not obliged by state law to have to redo this one. The recreational plan, which was developed first, which is why it was out, and has went through CPAC, and I believe it's been through the recreational committee. But that is necessary to have a plan adopted to give grants that we're going to go for in the next grant year. So that would be part of it. The rest of this is just a guide, and I think, and honestly, when I was on commission, this was talked about. We would actually start talking about it back then. And I think the idea as Townsend was changing, that we needed to update a few things and look at the direction that we wanted the town to go. So I understand, and I say this all the time, right? I use this analogy a lot. When I was with the county, we had a lot of lawsuits, oversaw the lawsuits. We would go to mediation. And one of the mediators would always tell me, my job when I leave here, if nobody's happy with the settlement, then I've done my job. What I've heard are what you would call, and I hate saying this because we got to get away from this one side or the other. But, I got comments, it's too favoring business, and I got comments it's not favoring business enough, which kind of tells me it's hitting right down the middle. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I tend to agree that there's nothing, I agree with what Pat says, what Christina says, I agree with what you guys say, like, we're never going to find a perfect document. Now, whether it's on other grounds of incomplete or not incomplete, but we also do have the ability to amend this ourselves after this is passed, correct?
Yes.
So we're not putting it there and never stuck with it, right? So if we do pass this, or if we don't, either way, we still have the ability to change and amend this document as we go, because it is a living, breathing, if there's something we don't like, and we can all, as a team, come to agreement on it, we can change it on the next meeting, or push for it on the next meeting. But I think if we're 6 years late to the party, we're leaving a lot on the table, is what I think.
I'm gonna add, just mention something.
Real quick. Mr. Thompson, look at me, he has his hand
I
out.
just want to reply to what he's saying.
I'm gonna go to Mr. Thompson. You will follow.
Hopefully I'll remember.
You write it down. You'll follow Mr. Don. Mr. Don.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad so many people are here tonight. This plan right here, Joanne held it up. This plan, when I read it, is probably the reason that I'm here today. I've been around Townsend all my life. I can remember on Old Tuckaloosa Road looking out the kitchen window, and it would be dark. If it was new moon, you couldn't see nothing out there. And you look now, you can see Marable, you can see division quarters. Things are changing. This plan has a lot of good things in it still. So I don't disagree that there's not things in this plan that are useful to us. The architectural review board idea is right here in this plan. But there's a lot of things that are not in this plan. We are behind the curve. We are losing our housing stock in Townsend. We're pretty quickly going to become a place where we don't have enough people that spend enough time here to generate a room full of people like this. I asked to be on the planning commission so that we could start the process to update this. The chairman of the planning commission was nice enough to put me on this. And we started what we call a scoping document. I've heard a number of folks refer to it's a $100,000 plan. Well, that is. What we learned in our scoping document, we went to other communities and we asked large communities, small communities, what does it cost to get a professional help to develop a plan, because it's that important for the city of Townsend to try to get the right things in there. And after the presentation tonight, I thought, well, that speaks for itself. After we listened to those 40 slides, I felt really proud that we've accomplished something. Things that happened in Townsend, that most of this plan is based on 2008 data. Who had ever heard of VRBO, Airbnb in 2008? Now, we've got maybe as much as a third of our housing stock that's by people that don't live here, don't have any plan to ever live here. Now, I'm not saying that that's wrong. There's people that come to Townsend, they vacation here first, and then they retire, and then they're able to move here. And I appreciate that, and we have to have some balance and be able to do that. But if we don't pay attention to things, if we wrap ourselves around the axle, if we spend another 7 months of this planning commission's time, we're going to be even further down the road. When we took on this plan, we asked for input from not only residents of the city of Townsend, which it does pertain to, but we engaged our entire Tuckaleechee Code. We hired these people so that they could help us put on probably the biggest survey that's ever been conducted in Townsend. We sent out thousands of surveys. We got hundreds of people involved in this. We had a big session at the Heritage Center, maybe some of y'all were there. And we did that at the beginning so that this plan, the development of this new plan, could be guided by that. There's a lot, so many things. As you look at those recommendations, as you look at those challenges, these are things that people told us, that you all told us, that our neighbors in Tuckaleechee Code told us that we need to pay attention to. There's nothing in here about what's the peaceful side of the Smokies. Now, we were reminded that the peaceful side of the Smokies was originally a tourism thing. You know, we're different than the other side of the mountain. My mom's side of town is from Severe Hills, so I can say that. Since that time, the peaceful side of the Smokies has really come to mean something to people. It's a way of life. It's an aesthetic. It's something that we want to preserve and protect. There's no vision statement in here. Where's the vision statement? Well, here it is on page 8. We, the citizens, small businesses, leaders of Townsend, cherish our small charm and natural beauty that surrounds us. We value clean water, clean air, mountain views, dark night skies, and simple pleasures of life. Our vision is to protect this heritage while embracing thoughtful development that respects the environment and enhances our quality of life. We want to preserve peace and serenity, landscapes, clean water, pure air, natural habitats, enrich our lives, nurture a close-knit community. None of that's in here. This is what we're about. This is the peaceful side of the Smokies. This is what we're trying to protect. This is what will guide this planning commission. People have asked me, you know, the mayor's supposed to appoint these folks to the planning commission. We've had a turnover on the planning commission. We've had a turnover with our city planner. But what's the same is that people in this room, we're all trying to make sure that we accomplish the same things. We want to have a high quality of life. We want to preserve and protect what we have here in Townsend, I don't know how much longer we can keep it. I really don't, but if we don't get busy, if we don't address short-term rentals, somebody gets hurt in one of these places. They have places that advertise 18 people come into a place. The whole basement's filled full of bunk beds. That's not hyperbole. We have to pay attention to this. We have to pay attention to our housing stock. We need to pay attention to our cultural heritage. I'm a history buff. My neighbor Nelson Dunn, he's history buff. Don Edrick, he's history buff. We've got so many things. We've got the Great Smoky Mountains Heritage Center, Little River Railroad and Lumber Company Museum. We've got so much culture and heritage in this city going back to the ancient people. People like to ride up and down the bike path. That's something we have to pay special attention to. We can't apply for a grant without a Parks and Rec master plan. If we want to fix the Special People's Park, we need funds. We have to apply, like the strategy says. We have to be able to apply for grants. Parks and Rec master plan is part of this $100,000 tab. We didn't have that before. We'll have that now. That's part of what we're getting with this new community plan. And so I think it's a good plan. Is it perfect? Is it polished? Is there stuff in there? Workforce housing? Well, workforce housing is something we have to address. Our businesses need workers. I mean, you see restaurants going in and out of business. You can get workers. I'm sure our hospitality faces the same challenges. I don't think that was a precedent, what was done with Yonder. And I'll just mention, I was the only person on the planning commission that did not vote in favor of that. And my concern was the way we sort of addressed the workforce housing. It's not a precedent. I don't think that's correct in here. So, but we do need this plan, because if we don't, this planning commission, you could wrap us around the axle and we'll spend another year going through this thing line by line. We could hire another consultant, we'd spend another $50,000. But we have to start to do things, and this planning commission is already starting to do things, short-term rentals, addressing those. There's a lot of other things in here. One of the comments we got is you need to prioritize things. Well, that's a legitimate comment. We need to do that. But not passing this plan also has jeopardy. And I'll close on one note. Not that long ago, but for the grace of God, that flooding that happened to our neighbors and our family on the other side of the mountain could be right here. So there's a robust section. We asked for it in this new plan to pay attention to flood and fire. Earthquakes is not so much our hazard. If you look at the county plan, they got earthquakes, they got it all covered. But flood and fire is what we need to pay attention to. And that's another priority that we need to really be thinking about. Because that could happen and that could really take us out. People on Dark Island are really concerned about that bridge. That's how they get back across the river. And so we're going to have a lot of things coming out to help us. But this plan is not perfect. It's not necessarily maybe as polished as I would have liked it. But I was pretty proud when I heard that presentation, just what's in that plan right now. And I hope that maybe if y'all hadn't had a chance to read through it, that was helpful. And I think there really is some urgency. So I would not support a resolution to not adopt this plan tonight, because I think we need to move on with this. It's a good plan. It's got the vision. It's got all the other things. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, for taking so much time.
I appreciate Ms. Delaney and her patience, and she is going to speak. But I do want to remind the commission real quick. We're not discussing voting on a community plan right now. We're discussing a motion. There's a motion that has been made. Don't think at this point in time that we are discussing, we should be discussing, is the motion that was made by Mr. Pat. That is currently, that's currently where we're at. Ms. Delaney, will you please keep that in mind, and will you please discuss your opinion on the motion to table approval of community plan? Thank you.
There's just one thing I want to correct is saying that the one thing that drives me crazy is when we say that we're in such a hurry now when Akeem said that the plan was done like 5 months ahead of time and it sat on his desk, and that's what drives me crazy, that I don't know why that happened, and then now we're in a urgent hurry. And I know that typically when these plans come up for review, like we're doing right now, it's not something that's done in 1 or 2 nights. What Don Stelling said about we're right through the middle, but that's not really what the survey said. The survey said almost 70% of citizens wanted a certain direction. So to say that we went right through the middle with the business and the citizens, that doesn't seem to reflect the survey. I guess that's about it.
Okay. Any other comments?
Like to comment. I've got a bias about reports, not surveys, but reports. And my bias is that it's pretty easy to fall into a situation where you're getting into a do-loop of tweaking and trying to get better and better and better. And a lot of times that just delays the preparation of a document, and it doesn't add the same level of value as the level of energy you've got to put in to get it to that next level. And I would hate to see us get in a situation where we are drawing this out and getting into a loop of continuous effort to try to get another 10% or 20% out of the document. My experience has been, if you've got a 70 or 80% document that you're satisfied with, it meets the goals, and I believe on page 8, the vision, I think the vision does a great job of meeting the goals, that you go with it, and then you work with it as you go along, you get it out there, you find out what the weaknesses are, and you add to it, and you fix it as you go. That's my comment. Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Bruce. Any additional comments? All right, at this point in time, we've had a motion, we've had a first, we had a second, we've had discussion. We're going to have a vote. All right. If you want to table the approval of community plan until a full review and editing page by page completed by the Townsend Planning Commission, will you please state aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Real quick, I couldn't. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, if you don't mind. I'm gonna do a roll call. Mr. Pat?
Aye.
No? Aye?
Opposed.
Opposed? I wanna move forward, so I'm gonna oppose.
Opposed.
Mr. Don? Opposed. So it looks like to me, Harry, it's gonna be 5-2, the motion will pass. I'm not pass, the motion will fail. So what I'm trying to say is, we will move forward. I stated that incorrectly. If the motion failed, at this point in time, we are going to move forward with the resolution.
You do not have a motion on the floor now, so you have to get a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Mr. Don. We've discussed this, we've had, I will second the motion. So
I'll make a motion that we adopt the community plan.
I have a motion to adopt the community plan by Mr. Don. Mr. Holly has done a second. Comments, discussion.
I second that motion.
I might be disrespectful. I second it.
We lost the chance.
At this point in time, we're having discussions to move forward. We have a first and a second.
I would just like to, I guess, reiterate what I was saying earlier. On the opposite end is in forward, again, we can amend this moving forward. We can work under this policy and change things as we go. And I said this in a couple meetings ago, that the most important thing that we do as a committee or as a planning commission, as the city commissioners as well, are the people that sit in these seats. Your vote, obviously, for you guys that live in the city, or the commission's coming up, people that are on these committees are the ones that's driving where this city's going. And I think everybody is in agreement that we want to keep things peaceful and quiet, and everybody has a little bit different vision of what that is to them. But I think, like you said, 70–80% we all agree on. There's a handful of items that we may disagree on, but our vision, I think, is still pretty clear.
Would you like to have a comment?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Tonight I've got a few, tonight I've got a few amendments I want to make on the plan. My goal is pretty simple. I just want the language to match what the residents actually said. Make sure the plan stays realistic for Townsend. First, I want to take out the language calling Townsend a high-volume regional tourist zone. That doesn't really reflect how people see their town, and I think it pushes the plan in the wrong direction. Second, I want to remove the hospitality corridor idea. It's not clearly defined, and I don't think the community really signed off on something like that, shaping how development happens. Third, I do want to remove the employee or workforce housing as a formal goal of the plan. Housing is important, but I don't think the comprehensive plan should be focused on meeting workforce house needs tied to tourism. Fourth, I want to add 2 common sense guardrails. One, we should only support growth when we actually have the infrastructure to handle it, the road, sewer, etc., and just strengthen the language that protects Townsend's character. This isn't about keeping the plan grounded in reality. This is about keeping the plan grounded in reality, not about stopping growth. It's about making sure we are planning exactly what fits the town and what it can support.
I'm sorry. You good? Mr. Pat, give your
So,
hand.
Christina, are you suggesting they make amendments before we vote on the plan? I just want to make sure I understand what you were saying.
So you would like to make amendments to the motion? Yes.
Well, it would have to be, like if she wants to replace the language, usually I want to replace this sentence with this sentence. And sweeping like housing out, that was pretty broad, so it's usually more, I want to remove this section, replace it with this, or I want to remove this section completely, be like, you know, what page, what number. That's usually how, on a motion, they'll do it, so to say I want to remove everything that talks about housing. But like your mention about what it says about high volume, you say I want to replace it with whatever, or I want to strike that completely. And we're probably best to take these one at a time as well.
I mean, I think I would love to do that.
I'm gonna go.
I agree with you on a lot of that, but I think we put some great.
Mr. Don had his hand out. He was next in line. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is, I think most of those items that Commissioner Delaney are pretty well covered, with one exception. And so I would amend my motion to remove 2 paragraphs on page 40. And these are the 2 paragraphs that talk about the situation with a particular development that refers to it as precedent. So these would be the second and third paragraph of the first recommendation that occurs on page 40. So I would amend my motion to remove those 2 paragraphs.
Can we get that read? Can we go ahead and read it?
I'm going to page 40.
Yeah. Take a look at page 40. It's not taking out workforce housing. Workforce housing is something. But the paragraph that begins for additional context, I don't think this additional context is accurate.
I'm going to read it. For additional context, particularly historical, it's important to acknowledge that on-site workforce housing has already been considered an approval by the City of Townsend in January 2024 on petition submitted by Yonder Alton. Although this decision was continuous hinging on the interpretation of what constitutes a hotel, resulting along with a site plan that specifically included on-site workforce housing. The action established a precedent for permitting such housing within the city. In the next paragraph also,
Well, I don't have that strong a feeling on the next paragraph. I think it's this paragraph that really, I think is not necessarily accurate, or this additional context. So I would agree that I amend my motion to remove this paragraph.
Mr. Lane?
That's fine.
Do you agree as a second?
Further discussions?
I'll ask a question. You're entertaining amendments to the plan, changing things, edits. Why don't we go home and edit it ourselves and bring it back the next time and get it done right instead of tweaking, here, I'm gonna take out this paragraph, oh, I'm gonna add this paragraph. It just shows that the thing is half-cocked. It's gotta be done right. That's my opinion.
Mr. Jenkins, I think Commissioner Delaney's got a point on that one paragraph, but I don't know that I want to get into what we discussed before.
So Don, I'm just curious, are you saying by striking that it's not approved? That it was not approved by that decision?
There was a decision on that particular site plan. I did not happen to agree with that, but my opinion didn't carry the day. But I don't think it was a precedent for that reason. I don't think this paragraph is actually necessarily needed or accurate.
I guess I'd like to, is that something we can just, not to do with anything here, but just to make sure that we know where that stands?
Well, the decision was made on that site plan. I think if another site plan comes and proposes that, we would have to take a look at it as a planning commission.
We're sure of that.
I want to make sure I got
Yeah.
this right here.
I agree, thank you.
Okay. Motion by Prater, seconded by Holly to approve resolution number 290-261P. Prater amended the motion to approve same resolution, subject to removal of two paragraphs on page 40, beginning with for additional context. So it's the two paragraphs. I'll write the whole thing up, ending with workforce housing.
So then the second one you're taking out is to address this issue effectively, that paragraph?
I think it's sort of tied to the paragraph before that, but I'm not.
The one thing I like that it says is that you're only talking about this, or I guess that's a recommendation, only, or, depending on how many workers are needed, this is sort of what I read. That you would start to consider these kind of options. See that somewhere?
I mean, I
I
think that,
don't know that the paragraph before it makes sense to keep that.
I just think that if we do keep the housing section, maybe we could have a Thursday. So I like that.
Well, I wouldn't, I think that's a discussion we ought to have, but we ought to have a more fulsome discussion about that whole topic.
yeah, I mean, I think, I gotta be fine with it, but I think if we, again, let's operate under what we've got and move on to bigger and better things, I think. And then as you completely review, you know, and obviously we've all read it several times at this point, but, you know, if something else you don't like, we bring it up next month, we just tackle it as we go. But we look forward towards, you know, this thing's, obviously, it's a guiding document, but there's more important things that we need to do and handle that can make a bigger impact on what some language says in here on keeping tabs and tabs.
Chairman,
Please, don't let it, I believe
you have a motion that was made, then you had, they kind of worked out on the motion. You still don't have a second on this motion that I heard. So, Commissioner Delaney and Mayor Prater had a conversation.
Okay.
Is this still the motion that Commissioner Delaney was made? Because she had more in her motion. That motion never got a second in my ears. So she was kind of explaining her motion, and we kind of went to discussion. So Mayor Prater kind of talked with her a little bit about it. We talked about guidelines. So Commissioner Delaney, you made a motion. Would your motion now say to pull out what Mayor Prater has recommended? And that be one motion right there. If that is what you agree on, then you need to get a second on that. Because if not, her motion needs to be dealt with whether it has a second or not. Then you can do a separate motion, but right now you two have kind of worked out the motion together.
As amending
Yeah.
this.
One part of
The motion to, so the motion on the floor brought up by Commissioner Laney would be
We're going one by one.
to go by, to take out what Mayor Prater has suggested, as kind of compromise. That's the motion.
But I had other things we were talking about though too. Right? Take out a couple pieces of language, the high volume regional tourism hub, hospitality corridor. Yeah, but I do also want to, I didn't say, I did want to add something about work towards a lot more heritage in it.
So if you're making that motion needs, the debate needs a second. And then you amended some of your motion, you changed some of your motion to include Mayor Prater, because you're continuing on, right? You want this other stuff in your motion, correct? So her motion needs a second to talk about. And then you can vote on it and we'll go from there. But you need to call for a second on her motion.
Okay, I guess I would just like a little more clarification on what would be stricken or removed as what you're suggesting specifically and where.
And I didn't bring the page numbers.
Within the first one, comments or
Commissioner.
Okay.
We'll get in trouble while
I, give you one
So-
second.
Okay, so that, the first one is page 4. So the high volume regional tourism. And I'd rather, obviously it's a gateway community, I'm fine with that. But high volume regional tourism, I would like to change.
We're fine with second.
But she's not really clearly stated the motion.
Yeah, I think
Right.
So
Just showing,
and
Obviously it's going to take, it's not something I can just.
it's not, this isn't the last time that you have an opportunity to amend either the plan. Bruce's point, as we work through it, all wants to make several amendments to it.
so. What would we need to move forward?
So
Either-
we need a clear motion.
Okay.
And so you kind of work something out with Mayor Prater regarding removing the language
But is
that,
that everything that should be removed?
removing that language. And that's a clear cut motion on what to do, which is just to remove that language from the plan. And if,
And I say the same thing about and I can find the second term, there's just 2 terms. It's just the high density language that's on page 4, and then the second one we just need to find. Hospitality corridor. So that's it.
so how do you want page 4 to read?
Yeah, okay. Now, I guess its identity as a gateway destination, just take out the premier.
on page 4, is that correct? What paragraph that in, please?
The first one.
Under executive summary.
The first sentence?
Yes.
So,
That, and then the other one. Alright.
I don't know where it's at, operation.
High volume regional tourist town. Hospitality board. Alright, page 6. It says high volume, unified residential identity and its role as a high volume regional tourism. I'd like to take off the high volume. I guess it is. High volume, I'll leave that, that is what it is.
She wants to remove the word premier, correct?
No, the premier, yes, on the first one.
Just the word premier.
Just the word premier. So you want one word removed from page 4, and then the other thing that we discussed a second ago. Is that correct?
I think that second page is fine. It is a high volume tourist town.
Would that be the end of your?
I'm still kind of looking for that.
So are you prepared to move forward? If we remove-
Yes, that's fine.
you want to check with the secretary, have him read what the amendment is, and so everybody's good to go.
I do. I'm gonna give him a second. He's over here going to add.
Okay, I think I have a motion by Prater, second by Holly, to approve the resolution.
We need.
And then Delaney made a motion to amend Prater's motion to approve the resolution, subject to removal of the word premier on page 4 and 2 paragraphs on page 40, beginning with for additional context and ending with workforce housing. But I think Delaney needs a second.
So I have a second.
You're good to debate or vote.
We're debating the amendment.
This is on the amendment, correct?
I think it's a good start. I think, go ahead and knock out some tonight. I think we keep moving forward and knock out some more, or change the language and some others. Maybe when we're a little more prepared, obviously we know what it says. We're not quick to find the pages currently, but I think it needs work, and we'll work on it as we go.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
I think it's part of our discussion. I could accept that. Delete the word premier on page 4 and those 2 paragraphs on page 4. I would be in favor of that. That would allow us to move on. I will struggle if we start down a road that starts to wrap us around the axis. So,
Any other comments before we vote? Okay. Matthew, read it one more time, and then we are going to vote. On the amendment. We're not voting on the resolution. We're simply voting on the amendments. I want to make that clear. Thank you.
Motion Delaney and second Kilby to amend the motion to approve resolution number 290-26-1P, subject to removal of the word premier on page 4 and 2 paragraphs on page 40, beginning with 4 additional contacts, ending with workforce housing.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign? That did pass. And so now, Mr. John, we continue on to the actual resolution. Is that correct? And we have the new guidelines. We can now go to the resolution.
Resolution that has been amended.
The resolution has been amended. We are moving forward. I'm asking for comments on that.
So what we have in front of us would be as amended as well, we'll just include in that language for
Mr. Chair, I'd like to call a question on this amendment.
Mr. McIntosh has called the question. Do I have a second?
I don't know what that means.
That means he wants to go ahead and go. He thinks that we have discussed this, and he is calling for a vote. That's what this means. I have a second. Okay. We have to vote on this first.
Yeah, and to be clear, when we call for a question with a second, then, that's to end debate, has to pass the 2/3 margin, and if it passes, there's no more debate, you go straight to the vote.
So this is not the actual vote of the resolution. This is go ahead and ask the question.
Which you're voting to end debate.
And all we're voting right now to end the debate. Is that good? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Real quick.
You did oppose.
Opposed? Mr. Prue said aye.
Can you read again what the motion is? I'm sorry.
It's a call to question.
Oh, the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
It's got to pass 5-2. It did pass 5-2. Thank you. Now, we were going forward with, Mr. Don, help me one more time. I'd rather make sure we're right than me say something incorrectly, please.
Now we vote. No more discussion, now we vote.
Now we're voting. So we're voting on the resolution with the two amendments.
As amended.
Yes,
The
we're
motion
voting,
is
we're going to
officially
vote on the resolution at this point in time.
As
There will be no more discussions with the two amendments. I'm going to ask Carrie one more time to read it with the amendments, and then we are going to vote. Is that?
Yeah, it's
You good?
one amendment with two things.
Thank you. Mr. Harry, please.
Okay. Motion Prater and second Holly to approve resolution number, I said it before, motion Delaney and second Kilby to amend the motion to approve resolution number, subject to removal of the word premier on page 4 and 2 paragraphs on page 40, beginning with for additional context and ending with workforce housing, unanimously approved. That was the amendment. Question is passed, and now we're voting on the whole motion.
On the resolution.
Voting
To
on the
approve the
resolution.
resolution.
That was a good job, Eric.
And I am going to start with Mr. Pat at the end, the way we've been doing it. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, if you don't mind. Mr. Pat,
Start at the other end, please.
I'm sorry?
Start at the other end, please.
I'll honor that request. Mr. Dunn? Aye. Mr. Harry? I am going to vote aye.
Opposed.
I got an opposed.
Opposed.
The motion will pass with a 5-2 vote. All right. We still have probably 10, 15 minutes to discuss. E is going to be new business. I believe this new business was kind of brought up and proposed by, in an email by Mr. Delaney, and it's discussion of possible action regarding changing the meeting time and the date for the City of Townsend Planning Commission. Mr. Delaney, you want me to give you a minute or two to go ahead and just kind of start this, please, ma'am?
Sure. The reason I'm asking for this change is just because this date conflicts with the Blount County schedule, and we have to make a decision if we want to come to this meeting or the Blount County meeting, and I really think that residents should be able to go to both.
Okay.
If I could add my 2 cents. I was there when they changed this, so we conflict with the budget committee meeting and with what's called the agenda workshop for all the county commissioners. So what they're talking about is the workshop will be again at the county commission, and then which is next Thursday, and then what happens at the budget committee, you have to put, that would be completely missed. They're also having a public hearing tonight, so just happened to choose. I was there, I was present for the debate. They moved this a year and a half ago, I think. Commissioner Aker, which y'all know is a concerned part-time resident here in Townsend, has property here in Townsend, made it known that, hey, this is conflicting with Townsend. If you do this, people will not be able to attend both meetings. So part of me kind of says they changed it on us, and I don't know if we should chase them. There is merit though in the budget committee. I do want to, so I'm going to slip this in here. One of the items on the budget committee tonight is the swinging bridge. So that is going through, but that will go to commission eventually, which will be next Thursday. So if anybody wants to show up in support of the swinging bridge and funding it, that will be on the commission's agenda next Thursday. But they knew full and well, it was discussed. Commissioner Eckert made it known that that would be in conflict with the Townsend Planning Commission.
Mr. Pat, I believe last month, it came up and you discussed something about it being in our bylaws. and
I'm not sure. I didn't
Okay.
spend time looking that up.
Okay.
I know that the city commission, date and time is written in stone. It's in our city bylaws or whatever, one of those documents. I read it today. But I don't know the planning commission date and time is written in stone.
I understand all of it. We've been on Thursday night. It's always been on Thursday nights. They're the ones who made the change. I hate to make people make a decision of which one to go to, but I don't think it's our job to kind of cater to the county. And my priority is the city of Townsend. I want to make that very, very clear. I mean, I'm for the county, obviously, because we're all hold hands, bring that together. But my obligation at this point in time in my life is the city of Townsend. That's how I feel. Mr. Lane, you want me to call and say something?
Well, my response to that would be yes, maybe they shouldn't have done it that way, but in a way, you're saying in a way that we have to pay the price for that. You know, that we're not able to go to a meeting because they changed themselves.
You can go to the meeting. You have a choice to go to either meeting.
I actually can't.
That you can go to either meeting that you want to.
So what would be your reason to not want, what's the reason that it must stay on Thursday?
We've been here. This is where we've been. We've had it on Thursdays. It's a tradition on Thursday. We've always done it that way, and they made the change. That's what I'm going to stand on that. And my obligation again, first is the city of Townsend, not really the county, but the city of Townsend. I do realize we have to work together, but I'm going to go with Mr. Don first, and I go with Mr. Stalling second.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the notion and, want our citizens to be able to participate. But what happens if they change it again? And we have to change our meeting again. I'm not certain about, whether it's in our bylaws. I wanted to do a little more research on it to see, what would be necessary to, make a change. But I would have some concern just about, if you're constantly sort of trying to adapt to another entity, if they start to change again, they have their priorities. I guess, to get everything on a same night of the week or something, but maybe we ought to let it sit for a little while and see if they change back to another day.
This was just simply a discussion that Mr. Lane wanted to bring up, and she has that right. I think it was a good point. I really do.
I think it brought it as a motion.
I'm here to have discussion.
So at the least, it would need a resolution. So a proper motion would be to instruct me to bring back to you a motion to make sure that it can be a valid resolution, but to bring back a resolution to change the time.
Did I not include that attachment?
I put this on here, I didn't have time to get everything with the planning.
It doesn't have to be done this week. I thought I included one.
I wanted to get, I put it on here for discussion, and I wanted to get it on for discussion.
We'll look at that for next month.
I think it would be useful if we did bring a resolution to propose a different date, so that, if we're going to change, we've given some thought about what.
I thought about that. I thought Don
is the right
idea
day
what to do.
to do it. And I'll just say that in choosing the day, there are certain things about how many days in advance you have to submit a submission, and then, will it go to the city council after that? So it's not a simple solution. You have to really be thoughtful about making sure you get enough time between meetings and, get it on the right night of the week and that kind of stuff. So it would be useful if we did go that direction to do a little research and make sure that, we come with a proposal on which night of the week.
Here.
I'd be open to look at the change. I think these meetings are really close to the commission meetings, and sometimes we do things and they can't act on it. There could be another benefit, and I think it'd be great if people want to go to the other meeting too. We can change this. I think we need to think about it some more, talk amongst ourselves, but I think there could be some benefit. Also, when the commission does something, we have to wait 3 weeks before we can do anything, maybe splitting them up. I'm happy to discuss this.
So what we're trying to say is that we're going to put this in next month's unfinished business. That we all, that Ms. Delaney, I do want to make you happy. I do mean it.
I love to hear that.
I know we have different opinions, but I do respect your opinion. I do respect you. I do want to make you happy. So I'm going to wrap this up if nobody minds. What we have just decided is that we're going to discuss this in unfinished business next month. Is that Mr. Stallings? Is that,
Yes, sir.
Are you good with that? Right. At this point in time, can we move forward? Thank you very, very much. This is going to be public input on items not on the agenda. It's not going to be on the community plan. It's not going to be on moving the dates. This is for public input on items not on the agenda. And it's kind of fusion. I had 2 people write agenda on here. I don't have. We've been here for quite a while. I will give that 1 or 2 comments with anybody. Mr. Don, I know sometimes you have comments. Would you like to say anything? I'm trying to be fair to everybody. I always try to be fair. Mr. You want to say anything, Mr. John? No? Okay. We're going to go to G, which is announcements. I have 2 quick announcements. Very important to me, and I know Ms. Joanne does it, and I know Mr. Pat has been involved in the past. I don't think anybody's going to participate, like drive through the line, but Saturday morning at 10 o'clock is Charm Ministries, which is just a fantastic organization in our town, and they're going to have their food drive Saturday at 10. You should get through about 11:30. If you need know somebody in need and needs to come, please send them to us, and we will take care of them. And I appreciate all that Charm does, and I appreciate Charm letting me be part of the organization. The second thing I want to say is really kind of Miss Laura and all that. I want to get going on the Tennessee Planning Commissioner Handbook and all that. And what I would like to do if possible, and the commission studying the community land use plan, the transportation plan, it has been so much. But would anybody have a problem in here to us just verbally as a committee committing by July, whatever the date is, that we personally read chapters 1 and 2? And if there is time, maybe we'll try to give Laura, a massive 10 minutes. I won't be here at 8 o'clock, to be honest. But can we please commit as a committee to read chapters 1 and 2? And maybe just have at least a 5 or 10 minute discussion? This is nothing to vote on, but are you good with that? Cool. I kind of took over the announcements and statements. Mr. Collins, do you have anything?
No, sir.
I think I just make a general statement. There's about what we did tonight, what we're doing moving forward. There's a lot of talk about Townsend not being this or Townsend being that, not Gatlinburg. And, we hear it in person, we see it on Facebook, and we talk about it up here. I think we've got a real good group of people in the city of Townsend right now. And I think we all, like I said, we're 80% have the same goal. And when we do get up here, and it sounds like we're arguing and bickering, it's over a few small items. I may not agree with you, I may not agree with you, or I may not agree with the mayor, but I think the end result that we're all pushing for is the Townsend that we all know about.
I think that's a good comment. And I think I started this out about 6:02, and I think my moment of silence was about unity. And if we need to be unified, we need to love each other. If we don't agree with the decision, we still kind of need to support it and back each other, in my opinion. Last call for announcements.
I got one quick thing. I was at the last city commission meeting. Commissioner Hedrick's here tonight. She talked about this board discussing limiting Airbnbs, overnight rental, short-term rental, the new definition to R1. We spent a lot of time tonight. She also talked about hotel. She was told she needs to go through this board to get things done, and it wasn't on the agenda. We had a lot to do, but I guess I want to sit here and say, I heard you, and we will get it. We'll get it on the agenda. We had a lot to cover tonight, but I hope we get to discuss both of those issues.
I can support that. I agree. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Absolutely.
I second that.
I have a second, Mr. Harry. I got a motion from Mr. Pat. I got a second, Mr. Chris. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by like sign. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.